Okay, so we've said normally you can't measure everybody in the population. We didn't really talk about why. And you may have heard of the census, right? And so the question is, well, should you do a census instead of a sample? And so here, if we measure everyone in the population, then we've done what's called a census. Census simply means that you've measured everybody in the population of interest. Why don't we do them more often? Mainly time and money, okay? You know, things like, hey, if we were working quality control for Hostess and we taste tested every Twinkie, if they even make those anymore, we would have no Twinkies left to sell, right? So a census there would be a really bad idea. There's also the matter of cost. If I wanted to collect information on all adults in Georgia, that would be very difficult for me, very expensive and very time consuming. All right, so there we go. Cost and time, those are our big hurdles. Even if you do one, you still may have problems. So the census most of us are familiar with is the U.S. Census. The government does a census every 10 years. Why? Because it's mandated by the Constitution. Mandated by the U.S. Constitution. Primarily, originally, it was so that we could properly allocate electors in the Electoral College and representatives in the House of Representatives. But even it has some sources of bias. We have non-response. Some people may refuse to return the census, even though there's now a penalty for not doing so, right? Or they may send it in incomplete. And in fact, I did that one year. I think it was the 2000 census, and we must have been selected for the long version because I swear it was asking things like how many toilets were in the house. And so my husband and I, we filled out our names and our ages and our genders. And when it asked for race, we wanted to put Martian. But we decided that might get us a visit from the Men in Black or something. So we just put human. And then we put it back in the envelope and sent it back because this was pre-digital. And the government was not very happy with us because, we got the long version. It was going to take us a long time to fill that out, and we weren't being compensated for our time. And quite frankly, it was none of their business, in my opinion at the time. And so what did they do? They sent people out they sent somebody to our house at least a couple of times because we got door hangers that said, "Oh, sorry, we missed you. Please fill out the census." And finally, one day on a Saturday, they caught us while we were out doing yard work, and they were like, "You haven't filled out the census." And we're like, "Yeah, we did. We turned it back." And they're like, "It was incomplete." And we're like, okay. They're like, "Well, look, answer one question, and we'll leave it alone." And they were like, "Do you have a mortgage?" And we're like, "What?" Yeah, we're like 20-something at the time, and we had owned our own home at the time. We're like, "What do you think?" "Yes, we have a mortgage." And they said, "Thank you," and they left, and we never heard from them again. So that's kind of an example of non-response. There's also issues with undercoverage. Here, there's actually 3 groups that can be hard to get a count of in the census. Usually, my students come up with the homeless, right? Because they don't have an address to send or often email to send the census to. Right? And that came up as a big problem for the first time in the 1990 or the 2000 census. And after that, they hired people to specifically go out to where the homeless were known to congregate to try to reach out to them and try to get them to fill out the census. College students are another population because if you're away at college, especially if you're living in a dorm, you're not going to get the census mailed to you. But your parents, who do get the census, are not going to think about you when they list the people who live under their house, under their roof, because you're not there, right? So it's pretty easy for college students to get left out. And actually, deployed military as well, which I did not know until recently when some of my students told me that, because they're like, yeah, I'm in the military and I totally didn't get the 2020 census because I was deployed overseas. And I suppose it's less important there because the military knows everything about the people that are in the military. And so in theory, they have all those numbers and can give them to the Census Department. All right, so let's stop there. And next up, we will talk about parameters and statistics.